In this video, how I went from this to this using a free online tool. Hey everybody, it's Adrian from Zenzus Toys. I know it's been a long time, but I'm back. So in this video, I want to talk about making some 1/18 scale Indian clubs. So a while ago, a couple of years actually, I made some kettlebells, 1/18 scale, and I'll have a link to that below. And I kind of wanted to round that out a little bit with a pair of these. So what these are, if you haven't seen them, is Indian clubs. They're generally very small amounts of weight, but you use them at extension, and they're very cool. I won't go into the details, but if you're interested, look them up. They're a lot of fun. So I wanted to make these for 1/18 scale, but as you can see, this is a pretty simple shape. It's basically just a revolve operation or a lathe, depending on what tool you like to use. So I thought this would actually be a good opportunity to, rather than really talk much about how to make this, because this is really simple, this somewhat trickier thing is how to make sure it's in 1/18 scale. So since I do a lot of work in 1/18 scale and my day job is a software engineer, I actually wrote a tool for myself to make it easier to make scale models of things. And I've shown this a little bit in a few videos, but in this video I want to kind of provide a little more detailed tutorial because the tool is available online for free. It will always be free, and I'd like to walk you through it in the hopes that all of you will use it to make other cool scale model stuff. So let's get to it. So generally you'll want to start with just going to Google and doing an image search for whatever it is that you want to model. And we'll get lots of good results, but we're looking for something kind of specific. So here's a lot of good reference images for what an Indian club looks like. What we really want is we want something with at least one measurement in it. So if we keep scrolling, aha, something like this. So one of the nice things about Google Image Search is that you'll get related images. So this is pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and save this image, and I'll see what else we can get. So this looks pretty good too. It's a slightly different Indian club, but you'll notice that we have the 17 inches. So the other dimensions might not be very readable, but that's okay, because as long as we have one that's clearly readable and the image itself isn't particularly distorted, so you want something that's kind of like straight on with at least one measurement. So this is great. I'll save this image too. And let's see what else we can find. Aha! This is really nice. So what we have here is we have a variety of different clubs and one nice measurement. So we're definitely going to grab this. Okay, and with that, we're ready to start actually taking our measurements. Okay, so now that we have our image, let's start measuring stuff. This tool is online and is free and always will be free. I'll have the link in the description below, so definitely check that out if you want to follow along. And I'll start by just loading our image. So we have our reference image we just got, and here we are. So in order to use the tool, the first thing you have to do is set a reference dimension. So to do that, I'm going to click Set Reference, and I'm going to use this measurement, the 675 millimeter height of the tallest Indian club. So I'll click Set Reference, and I'll click to start a line, and then click again to finish it. So that's our reference, but I need to tell the tool what that represents. So in this case, it represents 675 millimeters. Awesome. Now that I've got that, I can start just measuring whatever I want. So I'll start with the height of this Indian club. So I'll click and click again, and now we have this segment. We see that in real life, it's 60, approximately the same as we get here, right? But we see that the scaled size is 37 millimeters in 1/18 scale. We can change that if we want. So if we change this to 1/12, we'll see that's different. Change it to 1:1, we get the same. But I'm going to leave this as 1/18 because that's the scale I like working at. And I'll just add more. So I'll add one for the bottom here. Add another for the widest part here. And another up here for the handle width. I'll add one for the handle height. And all this time I'm just clicking twice to draw a line. You'll see that we get this nice list, but it's a little confusing to know what's what. So we can go through and name these. If I click here, we'll see that the selected one turns blue. So I'll name this something like total height.
This is the bottom diameter. This is the widest diameter. This is the handle diameter. Uh, Sometimes it's harder to come up with something to call it than it is to measure it, but let's call this the handle height. And let's see, what else do we need? Let's get a measurement of how tall this part is and how tall this part is. And I think that's it. Oh, we also need this width here. Okay, so this is our, let's call it bottom to mid. This will be mid to handle height. I'll add height here. And then this will be, let's call it pommel diameter, even though this isn't a sword. So now I've got a bunch of measurements. The size shows me what they are in real life, assuming that this measurement is correct. And the scaled size shows me what I need them to be to make a 1/18th version of this thing. So now I'm ready to actually take this data and make use of it. So to do that, I'm going to click on Download Measurements, and what that's going to give me is a comma-separated value, or CSV file, that can be used in a variety of ways. It's a text file, so you can open it up and just VS Code or whatever you like, Notepad, anything like that. But your CAD program probably has a way to import it. So my CAD program of choice, FreeCAD, wants tab-separated values for CSVs, but you can also select comma if you need that. So I'll click Download Measurements. We'll get measurements.csv. And with that, we're ready to take it into FreeCAD. Okay, so here we are in my CAD tool of choice, FreeCAD, which I highly recommend. And now I want to bring in that data that we just saved. So FreeCAD has a number of workbenches. I'm going to go to the Spreadsheet workbench, and I'm going to go to Spreadsheet, Import Spreadsheet. So I'll get measurements.csv and open it. And if we go over here, we can see we have a spreadsheet, and here's all our data. In this case, we probably don't care about these values of the real length, but we have all of these that we can use as needed. In practice, these are likely to be more guidelines, and you'll want to adjust. I'm not actually going to make anything 37.14 millimeters. I'll round these off to make sure they make sense from a 3D printing standpoint and from a sort of playability standpoint. But I have all my values ready to go in my tool. So now I'm ready to actually make the Indian Club. And since this is a pretty simple shape, so I'm just going to use a single lathe operation, and I'll have my object. I'll start by sketching out the profile that I know I want, and I'll go through and make sure that all of the measurements line up with, more or less, with what we got from our measuring tool. Okay, now that I've got my shape, all I need to do is to make a revolution, and there's our Indian Club. So here's one Indian Club all done. And while I was at it, I went ahead and I took some more measurements from the same image to get a smaller Indian Club and model that up too.
Okay, that's about it for this video. So if you'd like to get the files and make some Indian clubs of your own, I'll have a link down below. And if you enjoyed this and want to see more, please do like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell, all that good stuff. It really helps a lot, and it's much, much appreciated. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next video.